to this Teacher Masterclass by Selima Begum. Salima was born in a remote village in Pakistan. She believes strongly in students constructing meaning for themselves through the information that they receive. And she contends that classroom activities should correspond closely to real-life situations. She helped to create awareness amongst parents regarding girls' education and pioneered a strategy of mentoring in the community. And this leadership resulted in her being made head teacher. Throughout her career, Salima has contributed to teacher training, instructing more than 7,000 teachers across her province and 8,000 more through Pakistan through the Education Reform Programme. Salima is keen to develop students' local wisdom, pushing them on how they are going to contribute to that knowledge and connect with people globally to work together for the betterment of humanity. Over to you, Salima.
Thank you. Good noon, all of you, and welcome to my presentation. Today I would like to share my contextual challenges, what kind of challenges I have faced as a teacher, and how I have tackled those challenges as a teacher and as a teacher educator, and how I have supported my contextual teachers in order to overcome those contextual challenges in order to enhance quality education in the classroom. And that will be my focus. This is the map of Gilgit-Baltistan, Pakistan. We have 10 districts, and I have worked 9 districts of Gilgit-Baltistan and 4 provinces and 3 regions of Pakistan. What kind of challenges I have faced as a student when I was getting my primary education, lower secondary education, and secondary education. Though I have shared some of challenges in my intro session, but I will share again. In my school, when I was enrolled as a primary student, as an ECD student, at that time there was only one teacher, and my school was consisted on 2 classrooms, and our teacher was keeping 3 classrooms, 3 grades in one classroom and 3 grades in other classroom. And he was using the strategy of multi-grade teaching without any training. And we were facing the problem of our overcrowded classrooms. He was teaching us simultaneously in one classroom to 3 different grades. And teacher was untrained, and he had, and we didn't have any teaching learning resources. We were sitting on jute mats on the floor in extreme hot and cold weather. Similarly, parents were not willing to send their daughters in the school, and they were not supporting their daughters in completing homework and then revising our day-to-day session, because I was being involved in seasonal crops, harvesting and growing crops, grazing cattle, collecting grass to our kettles. And that's why we were remain absent to attend school sessions, and it was very difficult for me to fulfill the missed class which my teacher had already taught to my other colleagues. And the other problem was traditional teaching learning strategies. I was not getting opportunity to raise questions in the classroom in order to clarify my concepts about the taught concept. It is very important to interact with the teacher, with the classmate, but they were keeping us silent in the classroom. And when I inducted as a teacher in 1992, what kind of challenges I have faced and how I have tackled, what kind of strategies I have devised to tackle those challenges. To enhance quality education and engage my students in the classroom. 3 major, I have divided those challenges under 3 components, that is system support, resources, and community engagement. System support, I was not getting any opportunity to get any refresher course or any training on pedagogy or content to enrich my content and improve my teaching learning strategies. Because without teaching learning strategies, we cannot involve our students, because child is a center of our classroom. We cannot involve our student in teaching learning processes in effective way if we are not having such kind of strategies, such kind of skills. And then the same situation which I was facing as a teacher, as a student, I was facing the same challenge as a teacher. The lack of infrastructure, my school was consisted on 3 classrooms, and I had to keep 2 grades in 1 classroom. And I also had to use multi-grade teaching learning strategies, but I was not trained. It was a real difficulty for me to teach simultaneously 2 grades in 1 classroom. And multi-grade, then continuous professional development was completely lacking in my area. And classroom support was missing from system. There were no any individual from my system to give me classroom support, to devise my lesson plan, to devise resources, and how to implement those lesson plans in the classroom in real context, and what kind of assessment strategies I had to use to clarify how students are learning and how to achieve my objectives. That was a big challenge for me. When school system officials were visiting, they were not supporting, they were just inspecting my school system. They were only ensuring their school strength, only cleanliness. Those 2 things were ensuring by my system officers. And then mentoring process was completely absent, which is very important for a teacher for his or her professional development. And lack of planning. When education department was planning any new thing to implement in the school system, they were not properly communicating those strategies to the school timely. There was a communication gap between school and system. And the last challenge was lack of appreciation from system. There was nobody to appreciate or giving any incentive for our work in order to improve or in order to enhance the morale of teachers. In terms of resources, we don't have teaching learning resources to facilitate our student and create conducive learning environment in our classroom. And still the same situation is prevailing. We are using low cost, no cost material, and Realia is teaching learning aid in order to overcome this challenge. And I'm leading a high school where science students are studying. I need to have a library to facilitate my student. I need a science laboratory to teach my students science practicals in physics, in biology, in chemistry, but we don't have. We have to take our students to the boys' school. They have laboratory, they have library, and we are facilitating our girls in boys' schools through the support of community, through the support of school management committee. And lack of computer lab. We don't have computer lab. Though we are talking about globalization, we want to connect our student with the global community. If I want to bring US classroom in my classroom, UK classroom teaching learning processes in my classroom, India classroom teaching learning processes in my classroom, how can, if I don't have computers, I don't have technology, it is very difficult to integrate, to raise awareness among my student, to develop understanding among my student without having those resources. And least priority of girls' education, still it is prevailing in my area. And engaging girls in farming, in particularly in seasonal crops, they are completely retaining their girls at home in order to seek their support, to fulfill their domestic chores. Personal commitment, opportunities, what kind of opportunities I had to improve those situations. One was my personal commitment to improve quality education, to support girls to get access to education, and to support girls, needy girls financially in order to complete their secondary certificate, their higher secondary certificate, and their higher education. That was my commitment and that was my plan, and still I am supporting those girls, needy girls who are competent and they want to pursue their higher education. I am spending my salary, 30 to 40% salary on their education. And community support. When initially it was very challenging for me to involve community, but later when I have conducted more than 100 sessions in community about importance of girls' education, about importance of education, now after that, now community is supporting me a lot. They are always standing on my back and they are appreciating my innovations which I am implementing in the classroom, in teacher education institutions to improve quality education. And neutrality of system. School education system is not concerned about the quality education, about those teaching learning resources. They are neutral, and that I turned it into opportunity because I was independent to implement any kind of innovation in my classroom. And I took it as a strength because whatever I want to do as a head teacher, as a science teacher, as a teacher educator, I can do because there is no one to ask me. That's why I implemented a lot of initiatives in my classroom, in my school, and I have improved situation. And then professional growth. Simultaneously, I improved because I was inducted as a teacher after completion of my FSC, higher secondary certificate. But simultaneously, I improved my professional qualification and academic qualification. And parent support, of course, in that culture where community was discouraging girls' education, my parents supported me a lot. And what kind of initiatives I have taken in my school and in different schools of Gilgit-Baltistan and in different schools of Pakistan, because I have trained 15,000 teachers across Pakistan. Then what kind of initiatives I have taken under quality education, curriculum enrichment, staff development, resource development, community participation, health education, children's social moral development, environmental education, and global citizenship. And when I was supporting teachers to devise school development plan and scheme of work, I integrated a lot of new updated concepts in different disciplines when they were devising their scheme of work and when we were devising school development plan. And through this way, I was able to implement different innovations in different schools. And in quality education, I introduced mentoring system. It is a success story. I introduced this system in 9 districts of Gilgit-Baltistan. It is a success story. Initially I have worked with 3 or 2 teachers in a cluster, and then those teachers later play their role as a mentor for other teachers. In this way, this concept spread all over the Gilgit-Baltistan. Then educational visits. I have planned educational visits for students and for teachers to visit other institutions, other schools, where the schools were implementing different kind of strategies, different kind of innovations in their respective school systems. And the other strategy under quality education, reflective practice for teachers and for students, because reflective practice is very important to improve our teaching learning, to reflect on our strengths and our weaknesses, and identify our weaknesses to overcome by finding alternatives. That is very important. And formative assessment strategies, because teachers were using traditional teaching learning approaches and traditional summative assessment strategies, but I have introduced formative assessment strategies through performance-based portfolios, through presentations, through classroom debates, discussions. In this way, I supported teachers to move from summative teaching learning strategies to formative teaching assessment strategies. And I have also introduced rubric, because teachers were blindly marking students' papers, their answers, and I supported teachers to devise a rubric for any question. When they were devising a question, they need to devise a rubric, because when they will devise a rubric, they can define a criteria to assess that particular answer of a particular question, and they will support them to just do justice with the students and with their efforts and with their process. That was very important. I have already talked about performance portfolio thinking, and then creative writing competitions. I have introduced the concept of creative writing competition in different disciplines, and those creative writing competitions were conducted, and district-wise competitions have been introduced, and school-wise competitions within district have been introduced. And then integrate updated information in different disciplines related different themes, like globalization and global citizenship concept, like women empowerment, like diversity, like pluralism. Integrate emerging trends in subjects, again the same. Include international, national, and local events in school, like Women's Day, International Women's Day, Environmental Day, Child Day, Hand Wash Day. Mathematical concepts, in mathematics, because I'm mathematics and science teacher, in mathematics I have introduced mathematical thinking skills through SGCC, specializing, generalizing, conjecturing, and convincing. That support a lot to teachers and students to enhance their mathematical thinking skills, because previously teachers were only assessing their answers based by telling the product of that particular question. When I have introduced rubric and mathematical thinking process, then they started to value the process of that particular student, that conjecture, what kind of conjecture they are devising to solve a particular problem in mathematics. And in addition to that, problem solving approach and project method, because we are growing a lot of crops, a lot of fruits in our area. Then I have devised relational, because it was very important to introduce relational understanding in mathematics, because usually teachers are teaching mathematics as fact and figure, and they are reinforcing their student to memorize mathematical concept, because mathematical is not an isolated concept. They need to seek the concept of mathematics in the real life situation, and they need to implement mathematics in their real life situation. That's why it was very important to integrate the concept of relational understanding and mathematical thinking in mathematics and projects. In science, again, I use science process skills and science projects. Environmental, I integrated environmental protection strategies in mathematics, like I have introduced a project at community level with the support of students and support of community. Those women who were participating in my sessions, they participated in those sessions. I have introduced to produce a organic fertilizer named Bukashi by using a microorganism, effective microorganism, by which they are producing on daily basis through their domestic product. And also integrate other plantation concepts and cleanliness concept in environmental education in science. And similarly, in social studies, I introduce globalization concept, like diversity, identity. I identify the issues through the investigation of differences and similarities between people. They need to value other people. They need to value the cultures of other people. They need to value the religious practices of other people. And I have integrated those concepts through curriculum enrichment, and learn about power and governance, and analyze the causes and consequences of unequal power relation. I have started those concepts in the classroom and at their home, what kind of power and governance they are practicing at home, because we have male-dominated society. Who is taking decisions at home, and who is in power in taking decisions? Like in this way, with because I have introduced concept of think globally but act locally, and I have implemented those minor concepts in the classroom and at their home. And in investigating questions in history, develop understanding of global interconnectedness, interdependence, and sustainable development. Again, it's clear for all of you. Exploration of different values and attitude in relation to social environment, economic and political question in society. I have introduced the concept of entrepreneurship in my community. I involved women for that purpose. I have introduced the concept of cushion making. I have purchased hens for the women because they are poor. They cannot even, they were not able to purchase a hen. If they will purchase a hen will give 15 eggs in month. Then in this way, if they will sell those 15 eggs, they can earn money, and that money can be used for their girls' education. So I have integrated those concepts in this way. Again, in environmental protection and in staff development, I have conducted in-house professional development sessions on every Friday, because in our area, we are practicing after 12, we are closing our schools. And I was retaining all teachers for this professional development session on weekly basis. And every month, I was conducting reflective practice. Classroom support. In addition to that, I supported teachers in classroom observation. I conducted pre-post conferences before implementation of their plan and after implementation of their plan in order to discuss their strengths, their weaknesses, and to improve their weaknesses by finding alternatives collaboratively. And then I supported teachers in planning. And then I was providing feedback on their lesson plans. And when they were implementing, on following day, they were submitting their lesson plans, and I was giving feedback on their reflections and lesson plans. Then I was also delivering model lessons for science, for mathematics, for social studies. Then introduce performance-based portfolios in every class, because it's very important for teachers and for students to record their performance. And in this way, they can give feedback, they can assess their own performance through reflection, and I have also introduced peer performance assessment in the classroom and among teachers. That work a lot. Using Realia as teaching learning aid, because we don't have resources, and our system is not supporting me to buy resources. I don't have that much money to purchase resources for schools, different schools, because I am implementing whole school improvement program, an educational development and improvement program in Gilgit-Baltistan. I have completed 7 cycles of whole school improvement program in 9 districts of Gilgit-Baltistan, and 2 cycles of educational development and improvement program in different schools of Gilgit-Baltistan, Pakistan. So to overcome that challenge, we were using Realia as teaching learning aid and low-cost, no-cost resources as according to the need of every subject. And community participation. It is very important. Without community participation, we cannot think about quality education. We cannot improve classroom teaching learning strategies, because students are coming from community. If community will not support their daughters in completing their homework, in revising their day-to-day session, we cannot think about quality education. That's why it was very important to conduct, initially educate parents, educate mothers, educate fathers to support, devise a plan at home to support their children, their daughters. Because as I have already many times I have shared that they are engaging their daughters in domestic chore, in harvesting crops, in collecting grass for their cattle. So to address that issue, I have conducted a lot of sessions for fathers separately, for mothers separately, and then collectively at community level about importance of education and how to support their children in completing their homework, and how to support their daughters in revising their day-to-day session, though their parents are not educated. But they were giving time, and it worked a lot. And I have also devised mother groups, committees, because initially it was very difficult for me to visit every home to convince them to send their daughters. That's why initially I have invited some of the mothers who were motivated, and in this way I have introduced mother committees at area-wise committees, because we have different areas and we have Nambardar system. So I have devised different mother committees, and those mothers, when girls were remain absent for 1 week or 2 weeks, I was requesting those mothers to visit that home, that mother, why she is not sending her daughter to school, what is the problem, what kind of problems they are facing. So these mothers supported me a lot. They were visiting, initially I visited them with the committee once a month or quarterly, because it was very difficult for me to manage classroom, school affairs, classroom teaching, and then community affairs. And after that, when community mothers understand, comprehend their roles and responsibilities, they supported me a lot to address that issue. And conduct, again, it's covered. That is also covered. Involve mothers in resource development sessions. As I have already shared that we are keeping our children on floor. In extreme, we are observing extreme cold weather. And when understand and try to understand and realize that if we are keeping a child on floor without any carpet, without any cushion, then how that child will learn, how that child will ready to learn. That's why I invited mothers, conducted a session. They brought that woolen sheep wool. They brought sheep wool from their home, and I purchased cloth to make cushions. And at school, I spent, in every school, I spent 1 whole day to make cushions at school level, because I have written many letters to mothers to make a cushion for their child and send it with him, but it didn't work. So I thought that I need to conduct a session, whole day session to make those cushions. So in every area I conducted those sessions to make cushions. So it worked a lot. And in this way I create a learning conducive environment in the classroom. I supported those vulnerable children. And I have already discussed that I have introduced entrepreneurship concept. When they were not 14 minutes. They were not paying, they were not able to pay the fee of their daughters. What they were doing, they were bringing those eggs, eggs from their home, and I was purchasing those eggs, and after that I was selling eggs in the market, because their husbands were not allowing them to go to the market and sell the eggs. That's why I have supported those needy mothers in this way. And health education. On health education, I have invited doctors, nurses on cervical cancer, on breast cancer, and on menstrual cycle, because girls were not aware and their parents were not supporting them to buy always or clean things. That's why, to raise awareness among mothers, I have conducted sessions through those nurses and doctors for initially mothers and after for girls at school level. And we have also observed hand wash day, dental day in under health education. And under globalization, I have integrated child rights concepts, women rights concept, human rights concept, diversity, identity, equity, equality, and then local and global level. How can we integrate? If we will integrate at local level, at classroom level, then it will contribute at global level. Social and economic inequalities at home. What kind of inequalities they are observing at home? Then what kind of strategies we need to initiate, devise to overcome those inequalities? And connecting communities. Engage with issues of social justice, human rights, again, repetition, cohesion, power and governance, peace and conflict. I have integrated peace education under the domain of affective domain. In cognitive and psychomotor domain, they have focused on that particular concept, But in affective domain, I try to integrate peace education, love, affection, to introduce that global concept and provide opportunity to challenge injustice through classroom teaching learning processes. And children social moral development, again it will be repeated concepts. We have observed national and religious events at school level. And thank you. Any questions? Yeah.
Sorry, could you repeat what SGCC stood for?
SGCC, specializing, generalizing, conjecturing, and convincing. In mathematics, when we are assigning a question to a student, first he is trying to link in specializing with other related concepts. What kind of solutions he have already identified to solve that particular problem. In that process, he is connecting and he is thinking to devise a new solution, new process to solve that solution. In generalizing, he is devising a solution mentally, but he has not articulated in black and white form. In conjecturing, he is articulating that new solution in black and white form with justification, with links, with logical reasoning, because he has to share that solution with other teachers, with students, and he has to justify his solution, mathematical solution. That's why in conjecturing, he is devising in black and white form, and in convincing stage, he is sharing and convincing other teachers with his solution, his devised solution. That is SGCC. Yes, please.
Hi, thank you for your sharing your stories. I'm from CJ Corporation from South Korea. We're not an education company. We are instead entertainment and food service company, but we do this corporate social responsibility work.
I'm not getting you, please.
We're from South Korean company, and we're not education company. We're totally different from education, but we support 4,000 after-school centers in Korea as a corporate social responsibility. But the way we usually support those after-school centers is like they give us some educational proposal, the educational programs, and we just support financially. That's how we support. But we do know the importance of education, and we wanted to kind of improve the way we support to get more involved in supporting teachers and supporting students, supporting more about their program sides. And the idea that you have mentor-mentee program between the teachers was very interesting, and I wanted to ask if you have a special format or tool that can improve, enhance teachers' teaching ability or professional skills. And I also wanted to ask, like you mentioned, performance portfolio. So I wanted to ask if there's any specific indicators that teachers can self-assess about their progress.
Yeah.
Thank you.
First I will start with mentoring process. Mentoring process is school-based process. And it is very important that your mentor should be larger, its size will be larger in terms of content, in terms of pedagogy with your mentee. Because if you will have rich content and pedagogy, then you will be able to support your mentee. And there is a time period. If your mentee will learn from you, because you are supporting your mentee in different dimensions, you are discussing with him, you are creating a learning, you are creating a friendly environment with him. He is sharing his every needs, professional needs, where he needs support in planning, in implementation, in assessment, devising assessment strategies, in learning content, in develop understanding in content in his respective discipline, where he needs support. Then identifying his need, after identifying his need, you are sitting with him closely and supporting in planning lessons, in devising tools, in assessment, and in developing his understanding in content. Once he will develop, and gradually he is improving, because there is a model, mentee and protege, and one day he will replace you, and that is very important. And he will grow up in size, in terms of intellect, in terms of cognitive skills, in terms of content, in terms of pedagogy, and there is no need of your stay at that school, and you are quitting that school and moving to the next school. That was my strategy, because I was implementing whole school improvement program, and in one cycle I had more than 4 schools. In some areas I had 5 schools, some areas I had 6 schools, in some areas I had 4 schools. And because it was very difficult for me to sit with every teacher daily to devise their plans, to observe their classroom teaching learning processes, to provide him or her constructive feedback. That's why I introduced that concept, to get access to every teacher, to support every teacher. Initially, I worked with some of teachers who were professionally sound, who were competent in content and pedagogy. Initially, I picked those teachers. I worked with them. And after that, when they replaced me, I introduced them with other 4 teachers. I delegate them, other 4 teachers, to this mentor, and this mentor. In this way, I achieved my goal. Otherwise, it was very difficult. There is a model, McGregor model of mentor-protege. I used that one. And what was your second question? For portfolio, yeah. I introduced rubric, because in rubric, to assess a reflection, you need to consider the level of your child. If your grade 4 student is writing reflection, then you need to devise your rubric based on his grade. If you are devising rubric for grade 8 student, you need to devise his level, because we are considering the concept of Bloom's taxonomy, understanding, then comprehension, analysis, synthesis, and then conclusion. So while devising a rubric, I was considering those aspects. Yeah, a rubric is the main indicator, which is supporting you and me to assess my work and assess other work. That is very important. Is it work?
Okay, if we can thank Salima, please.